Looks like X is the number one news app in the US again. I think that's great news because X to me is a place to get a lot more unfiltered opinion. One of the things I really like about Elon Musk buying X is that it allows a lot more free speech. I know it doesn't allow everything, and nothing is going to allow everything, particularly in this day and age. And if it did allow everything, I bet Apple and Google would try to remove it from the App Store because they wouldn't tolerate that. But it is much better than under the Jack Dorsey days. By far, you can say all sorts of stuff. You can have much more freedom of expression, which I think is really important. It's important for a free republic, I think, to be able to voice their opinions. If you have censorship and people aren't able to say what they want to say, I think it either forces the movement underground, and frequently I think that causes it to get violent because they think the only way to get the idea out there is to do something crazy, or it allows it to fester and maybe some really bad ideas suddenly emerge and become and surge into popularity. You know, people like to think that censorship really works and it fights extremism. And if you want to stop the next Hitler, you got to stop him from speaking. But, you know, if you actually know the history of Hitler's rise in Nazi Germany, they did try to stop him from speaking. He was put in jail, and he was put in jail for good reason, not just for speaking, but he was put in jail. He was not allowed to speak in public in many places. Hundreds of Nazi newspapers were shut down, and yet he still took over the whole country. That was a total failure. The way you stop bad speech, the way we got, I mean, we talk about, you know, censoring racism, we didn't get the civil rights movement by, you know, censoring George Wallace and the segregationists in the South. We spoke to them. There was some civil disobedience in the South, but for the most part, it was, you know, we Americans speaking out against the racist policies and winning hearts and minds by engaging with them, not just censoring them and deplatforming them. That's the way you have to do it. It's the ethical way to do it, and it's also the most effective way to do it. And X, by turning the public square more into a free flow of information, is allowing that necessary discourse that all democracies need. One of the things I'm also interested in is talking about, you know, movies, TV shows, and I want to be able to talk about what I think in many ways is this woke insertion of identity politics and DEI into a lot of films and TV shows. You see race swapped characters. There's going to be a black Snape in Harry Potter. There's the perennial talk of, you know, swapping James Bond into being a woman. There's a lot of opinions that I have that I don't want to be censored and I don't think should be censored just because they may go against what some people in the woke mainstream want to put out there. But, you know, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Are you excited that X is the number one news app? Do you think it's going to stay that way? I think it will stay that way for a long time because I think people do have a hunger for free speech. And I think it's important, and I think most people think it's important to be able to engage in a very free space. You know, there's other apps like Blue Sky or Threads that are much more censorious that just aren't as popular. And I don't think they're ever going to be as popular because people want to go to, I probably want to be in like the 60-40 where like 60% of what they see is what they agree with. But they don't want to be in a complete echo chamber. And they want to be able to know genuinely what the other side is saying and doing and how to combat that. I think it's interesting to deconstruct other people's arguments. I think a lot of people think that's interesting, and being able to get in that kind of debate is what I think makes social media very interesting. So feel free to comment in the comment section below, even if you disagree with me and you think I'm wrong, point it out. We can have a discussion. I think that's what social media is for. We can all individually, you know, post our videos, comments, and interact. I'll be down below. Thanks. Bye.